A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was a new trilogy of Star Wars films taking a new generation by storm. While flawed, they entertained and produced some memorable characters, and one of those being Jango Fett, which was Boba Fett's father. Star Wars Bounty Hunter was one of the many games spawned by this new trilogy, and Aspyr Entertainment, known for bringing the majority of LucasArts titles across to modern consoles, helms this port from all the way back in 2002. What's it like? Fuel up your jetpack, get your list of bounties, and keep your blasters at the ready as we review Star Wars Bounty Hunter for Nintendo Switch. Now before we start hunting down bounties, would you mind taking a hit out on that like and subscribe button? It's the best way to increase What's It Like's infamy across the galaxy, and I can't thank you enough for doing so. Star Wars Bounty Hunter follows Jango Fett as he aims to take down a huge bounty that will set him up for life by attempting to take out a cartel involved in death stick manufacturing. The story introduces a lot of characters that aren't from the movies, and it was great to see Jango's story fleshed out a little bit more than in the prequel trilogy, which did have a tendency to introduce interesting and unique characters while not taking any care to dive into their backstory at all.
If you succeed, the reward will be in the amount of 5 million Republic credits.
The gameplay is a mix of third-person shooting with a lot of platforming, which works to a certain degree of success thanks to Jango's verticality with his jetpack. Aspyr has brought a more modern control scheme over with this port, which is a huge improvement over the original GameCube release, and while there are some dated elements which I'll dive into later, the game is fairly fun to play with boss battles and interesting settings. What makes this game different from most third-person shooters is the bounty system, in which you can scan and capture bounties dead or alive for additional monetary rewards. Initially, it's a bit confusing and frustrating having to select your scanner to find a character which has a bounty on him, to switch back to a weapon or your grappling wire, a task that is thankfully made easier by the slowing of time while in this mode. Eventually, it will become second nature to sniff out bounties and capture them during the levels for maximum rewards. Speaking of rewards, scattered throughout the level are a plethora of hidden items and secrets to collect that unlock some really cool out-of-game bonuses, like an interactive comic book which is unlocked via progression, to Wizards of the Coast trading cards. Accomplished bounty hunters can also unlock a Boba Fett skin when they complete the game the first time around, something that used to exist only in rumours on the GameCube version. There's concept art as well, and much like Night Dive's amazing work on the Dark Forces remaster, I really like this approach to making sure things like this are included, as it goes a long way towards game preservation. This port of Star Wars Bounty Hunter has received some small graphical touch-ups, most noticeably in the model detail and lighting effects, which now see your blasters light up the room in a firefight. I'm assuming that that's also why there is now the inclusion of a flashlight, which never has to really be used at all during gameplay, and admittedly, I actually forgot it was there until I started writing this review. I wish I could say Star Wars Bounty Hunter was from a more sophisticated time, but the game feels dated to play. Having recently played through the Jedi Knight and Academy games, I didn't notice it as much, but with Bounty Hunter, a game that came out in the same year, it just feels a bit more rough around the edges. The level design is that old school style of backtracking and searching every nook and cranny to try and progress, sometimes being thwarted by missing a small crate to cut through while searching for 10 minutes. Combat feels a little bit flimsy, with the dual blasters not really making any impact, and set pieces in the level design see unending swarms of bad guys flooding your position just waiting to be shot. Sometimes it feels woefully unfair, and after using 4 of my 5 continues in one area, I found it was simply better to rush past everyone and not bother fighting to get through it, only to be annihilated by a boss battle 15 minutes later, having to slog through the level again. Unfortunately, in addition to the dated elements of the game, Star Wars Bounty Hunter has a fair bit of jank to it. Sometimes you'll just fall through items, drop off ledges, get stuck in the level structures and die, and randomly change position in the level. It's a bit worse for wear, to say at the least. Sometimes my sound went really quiet, but only on characters' voices, so I was unable to hear any of the story exposition delivered, and sometimes the borders on cutscenes just doubled up, cutting out a lot of the action by adding a 4 or 5 inch black border to the top and bottom of my screen. On top of this, there are a few movement-based issues that make traversal feel buggy, and while none of this is game-breaking, they were common issues experienced during nearly every level. For $30 Australian, Star Wars Bounty Hunter is still a fun romp for the fans, and if you enjoyed the game back in the day, there's plenty of fun to be had in a lower end price package. Those looking to 100% the game with the bounty system will warrant a couple of playthroughs, and even those looking just to experience the game, you'll have about 8 hours or so in gameplay to get through the campaign. For my vision impaired bounty hunters, there are no accessibility options, so further research is recommended to find out if Star Wars Bounty Hunter is for you. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is a good addition to the Switch library of Star Wars games. Sure, it may be a little dated and not have as much impact as Knights of the Old Republic series, but it's a fun platforming adventure for fans of Jango or Boba Fett. Its quality of life improvement, like the slightly reworked graphics engine and the control scheme, helped adapt Star Wars Bounty Hunter to the more modern consoles, and I'm sure that in a patch or two, it'll be a much more enjoyable adventure for those looking to delve deeper into the apparently non-canon lore of the Star Wars universe's second favourite bounty hunter. So, what's it like? Star Wars Bounty Hunter is like Siphon Filter, crossed with Star Wars. I award it a 68 out of 100. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way you can support me is to like and subscribe and continue watching my content if you enjoy it. But if you do want to go that bit extra, you can buy me a coffee or join our Patreon, which shows you behind the scenes of this channel. Thanks again.